the right posture? Is that what you said?
Oh, I just sat on it because it was a little more comfy than my rolly chair.
Okay. Well, it kind of keeps your backbone in line and keeps your tailbone back, which we'll talk about your tailbone at length here in a little bit, but it keeps your tailbone back, and that's a good posture to be in to help keep things open and flow and going the right way. So anyways, so before you go into labor, this is a great thing to use. Now my birth ball's too small for me. Ideally, your hips should be, or your legs should be below your hips, but that's okay. It works for what I'm doing. But anyway, so that's one of the ways that you can use your birth ball. Okay, so we're going to talk about freedom of movement. We talked about that, about needing to, be able to move around during labor. That's important to gravity and just getting things going. So walking, swaying, squatting, and bending over all help when working through the contractions. And we're going to do those things here in just a minute. Now, so you can get behind her, roll over in front of him and have him be behind you, or he can stand up and get behind you, either way. We're going to talk about massaging. Okay, so the first one is actually one you can do for yourself. So guys, you don't have to do this. But we talked about the shower wand. The other thing that actually kind of just comes naturally when you're in labor is just kind of rubbing your own abdomen, just rubbing your belly. You're stimulating the nerves and you're soothing the muscles. So that's one form of massage. Now, so guys, this is where your back massage is in. Now, when I sit, there you go. Now, I'm probably preaching to the choir over here because you know what you're doing. But when we talk about, okay, hang on. So, no pinching, especially during labor. Yeah. Well, and actually, we're just going to focus on lightly bringing the hands down the back, okay, and just putting some pressure from top to bottom. It's kind of hard to do when she's sitting, sorry, but that's one thing. I mean, when you start pinching and trying to work, because our goal here is not to work out a knot. We're not actually doing massage therapy. We are just trying to soothe and calm. So you're going to want to put your hands at the top of her back and just slide them both down. Now, when you get to the bottom, instead of taking both hands off and coming back up to the top, take one hand up and then the other hand up so that you always have contact on her back, okay? And that's just another soothing part of it, is that, the continual contact, and you're just going to kind of push down the sides of the spine. Obviously, don't push on the spine because we know that doesn't feel good, but you're just kind of rubbing your hands down her back, and that's just one soothing. Now, I don't even need to talk to you guys about massage, apparently, because you got this, but there you go. So that's one massage you can do. Now, pelvic pressure. So this one, you will actually be standing up to do this, but ladies, unfortunately, when you're in labor, you might feel like you're going to be split in two, okay? Because your baby is trying to settle down in between these hip bones, and so you're going to feel all kinds of pressure on your pelvis being pushed apart. Okay, that's what it's going to feel like inside. So one thing that you can help do is to press kind of from the bottom and up and in, and you're just pressing to hold her hips together, okay? And this might be one where if she's bent over, it might be easier, but you're just pushing with as much as you can to kind of push those hip bones together. This can also be something you can do with somebody else in the room. So if there's a nurse or a mother or a mother-in-law or somebody else in the room, you can get on either side of her and push in together. You can even use your own hips to push in against her. But basically, you're just trying to take the pressure off of what's sitting down into her hip bones. Okay, so you're just pushing in on those hip bones. Here in a minute, we're going to be into some positions where she might be down on the floor, like up over the birth ball, and it might be even easier because you're going to have more leverage because you're going to kind of be behind. So we'll do that here in a second. But pelvic pressure. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. So come off of your balls and kind of get down. Let's see. So if you're down and just kind of like on all fours, or you might even be up like this doing some yoga poses that we're going to do, but if you're down like this and you get down behind her and you can just rub your palm, if you have a tennis ball you can use a tennis ball, but you're rubbing your palm just right around the lower part of the back, yeah, just like that. when you're in labor, you're gonna have so much pressure down in this lower area, the lower part of your back and your hip bones, that it's really, this can feel really, really good just to have pressure put right there on your lower back, okay? And now might be a good, now you can try pushing on her hips. It might be easier when you're down and you have a little bit more.
Don't fart on me, sis.
That's exactly right though. I mean, you're really just pushing in from the sides and trying to hold, and you're just, it's just, there you go. It's just guidance. Oh, there it is. That's where my hips are, okay? And you're just pushing in and a little bit up, and you're just holding. I mean, just imagine what her pelvis looks like in there, and you're just holding that pelvis together and just giving her some relief. Not too hard. Okay. Okay, so those are a couple of massages. Now, this one you can just sit and relax, and we're going to talk about the touch, contract, relax. So, when you're done with a contraction, you may find that you're still holding on to that tension, okay? Like, if you've been holding onto a bed or holding onto his arms or whatever it may be, you may still be feeling, or you may not even notice it, but you may notice that she's holding tension in her shoulders or in her jaw or wherever. Have you ever seen that Facebook post that says, I don't know who needs this, but relax your shoulders and take a deep breath and let it all, that thing. Every time I read that, I'm like, oh yeah, I was holding tension. I didn't even realize it. But you may not notice that you're holding tension, but what you can do is, let's say you see that she's just still clenching her jaw, okay? So just tell her, okay, you're tense, so let's do the touch relax thing. So you just touch wherever she's tense. So I mean, it can like be hands or arms or whatever. So touch that part of her. And then what you do, ladies, is you then consciously tense that part up. You're like, and then you relax it. So they point it out to you, and then to help you loosen it up, you tense it up on purpose, and then you completely relax it. Okay? So like if it's in your shoulders, then you pull up your shoulders and then you relax them. And then once you've started doing that, you can do it all over. You can do the whole, just wherever. If it's something that's calming you and helping you focus, then just, tense up your calf and relax it. Tense up your thigh and relax it. Just keep going, and just that'll help you relax from head to toe. Okay?
The trick we learned in school was start with your toes. Tense, release.
Mhm.
Tense, release. Do everything 3 times, and then your whole foot, your calves,
Exactly.
and then your thighs, and then
And
just work your whole way up, and then just
Yep, last thing, there you go. So yeah, exactly. That is perfect. So yeah, if you want to start from one end and work your way up, or start from the top and work your way down, whatever it is, but this is, you're probably not going to notice that you're holding tension. So if you guys see that, something still just looks like, oh, this is an exercise that you can do that can just be a way that you can help. Okay. Okay, so changing positions is a way to ease pain and help you get through stuff, help you get through the contractions. So just standing up. I mean, when you see a picture of a laboring woman, they're not standing, are they? They're lying down in bed. That's just totally counterintuitive. So just staying standing is very helpful. Walking around. Now, slow dancing. Sorry, one thing I'm learning from this is I'm going to reorder these things, so I'm not making you get up and down. But too bad you have to get up and down, because this is the way we've done it. So, okay, so for slow dancing, you need some help. So,
He tries to help.
you remember
He's
the
not
7th
very
grade
good
shuffle, where you just put your hands behind his neck and he puts here, then you just go back and forth. So pretend you're doing that. Put your hands around his neck. There you go. Now, for you guys though, you're gonna put your hands all the way around and kind of support her basically. Now, you don't necessarily, I like this, teamwork. You're not necessarily you're not gonna feel the urge to do this right now, but just kind of allow yourself to sit down into his arms, kind of just bend your knees a little bit and then just kind of sway back and forth like you're swaying your hips, okay? I know this feels kind of silly right now because you're not in labor, but when you are having a contraction and you need to have that support and you're down here and you're just kind of swaying back and forth, you would be surprised at how good that's gonna feel.
There's a lot of swaying.
Yeah, I can feel the love in the room right now. So I have a friend that I remember when she was in labor, she said that she was walking in from the car. She and her husband had got to the hospital and they were walking in, but he's got armloads of stuff, right? He's carrying their stuff and he's unloading the car. And she starts having a contraction, so she just goes and finds there's this tree there that just has a branch, and she just grabs onto the branch and just starts swaying because she knew that that was a comfort measure that worked for her. So you may find that that is something that will work for you, and there's just something about kind of just sitting down into it and swaying that just really, I don't know, it's moving those hips around. Just think of everything that you do when you're in labor, just think about moving your hips around, opening them up, and having a lot of movement there, because that's just helping baby move down. Okay. All right, now I don't think we have to get back up or anything else. All the rest of these are on the floor. So we're gonna get back on the floor. I already talked about sitting on the birth ball. Now I will recommend this as well. Put a towel on your birth ball when you're actually in labor for several reasons. A, you have things coming out of you that are going to get on your birth ball, so if you have a towel, the towel's there to soak it up. B, if you put your ball on the floor once and sit on it and you're doing your thing, and then the next time you put the ball on the floor you do this, well then you're sitting on whatever was on the floor. And if you don't have any pants on, ew. So I would recommend having a towel. They have towels there at the hospital. Just get a towel, throw a towel on your ball. Plus it's a little more, gives some traction, so it's a little more, you weren't going to slide off or anything.
You're not sick on raw plastic with your skin and.
Right. The other thing I forgot to mention when you're talking about your birthing plan, think about what you're going to wear. If you don't want to walk around with your hiney hanging out in a birthing gown, you may want to think about what clothing you want to bring to birth in. The reason I bring that up is there's like birth skirts that cover everything but still leave you open to so things to think about. Okay, so you can sit on a ball. If you don't have a ball, you can just get some pillows. This is the other thing that you guys can do. This is one of your missions. When you get there, find all the pillows in the room and then ask for some more. Because I don't know about you guys right now, even just when you're pregnant, you want all the pillows to be super comfortable. The same thing goes in labor. You're going to want pillows.
You should see the one we bought.
Is it one of the U-shaped ones? I always wanted one of those. Is it fabulous?
Yeah, she don't cuddle with me no more.
Yeah, you're out. You're lucky if you still fit in the bed with that thing, right? So same idea, if you're down, if you do some of these positions where you're down on the floor, you may want a pillow on the floor to put underneath you. If you want a pillow to lay on top of this, to lay on. You just don't know where you're going to want pillows, so have pillows. And then towels, too. So just think of it as a hotel. Just bring me all the pillows and towels. Okay, so we talked about sitting on a ball, sitting in a chair, that's pretty self-explanatory, and then kind of moving your hips around. Now, this is one with forward leaning on a ball. So you can either put your chest up on the ball and have your belly hanging down, or you can roll the ball out here and kind of stretch and have your belly hanging down. But doing this position and several of these positions basically is just taking all of that pressure that's been on your hips and just giving you some relief. Okay? So when you're in labor, just doing this for a little while might just do wonders for taking some of that pressure off of your lower, your pelvis and things like that. Okay? So you can lean over on a ball. If you don't have a ball, you can put pillows on the bed and lean over onto the bed. You could also put your ball, and I know this isn't as tall as a bed, but you can put your ball up on the bed and lean over from standing. Okay? So but the ball is good for more than just sitting on. It's good for leaning on and helping you get into certain positions. It's also good for squatting. Okay. So you talked about squatting, right? Squatting is the thing that's going to open up your hips the most and give the most room for baby, right? So you can do squatting like this with the ball and lean on it. You can squat, like if you're sitting in a chair and you squat in front of him, he can support you under your arms. He can hold your arms this way. I'll show you pictures here in a minute, but that's another way that you can squat. But this is something that's good to do even before you're in labor because you're stretching things out and helping open up and use muscles that you probably don't use very often. So you can do squatting.
It almost got to work.
All right, so let's move on to the next one. I promise, guys, we are coming to the end. Okay. Now, let's see. So did you try this? Okay. So hands and knees. You got, how many of you do yoga? Any sort of yoga? None? So nobody's heard of the child's pose or the cat cow? Okay. Well, we're gonna do child's pose first. And if you guys don't feel like you don't have to do this, if you just want to watch, that's fine. These are all on your list, so thank you. But the child's pose is, you know, basically you're down on your knees like this, and you guys will have to spread your legs out because you have a pregnant belly. And your belly's going to sit down between your legs, but you're basically just laying down on the floor like this. And it's also, this is stretching out all these parts, all these hip flexors and pelvises and all that kind of stuff. The other thing you can do is if you put pressure on your hands when you're down like this, it's going to help stretch your lower back. So this is a position that you can do.
I do that with my hands and knees on the bed quite a bit, just because already my hips hurt and my tailbone kills me constantly.
Okay, so yeah, so this would be a great one for you to do. And then the other one is cat cow. So basically, you're up on all fours. You know, your arms are in, your hands are underneath your shoulders, and your knees are directly underneath your thighs. And so the cow position is with your head up, and you kind of drop your belly down. Okay, and so you're going to breathe in, and then breathe out, and you arch your back like a cat. Okay. So what this does is it's going to, again, give you some back relief, and it's helping baby come up off, you know, it's just relieving all of these things that your baby's been putting pressure on. But this is what I want to show you with baby. So, okay, the ideal position for your baby to be born is obviously head down, but you want their spine up against your belly. You want them like this, okay? The reason for that is, did you know that your baby is actually an active part of your labor? Like they're actively moving during your labor. They are throwing their head back during your contractions, trying to help pull themselves down your birth canal, okay? So when you're having a contraction, it's like an inchworm, just trying to like inch themselves down, okay? Well, if your baby's turned this way and they're throwing their head back, what are they hitting?
Your
Kill. It's called back labor. I'm sure you've heard of that. Somebody you know has had back labor and says it's excruciating. Well, that's why. Because they're constantly getting hit in the tailbone and the backbone by baby's head. And it doesn't feel good. So these two positions, okay, well, and so the heaviest part of your baby is their spine. So those two positions that I just showed you, where you're down like this, or you can even kind of, you know, put your butt up in the air a little bit, but anything that is putting this side down towards the ground, the heaviest part of your baby is going to go down, right? Or ideally will. So your baby's going to rotate and put their back and their spine where it's supposed to be. So those are good positions to do anytime during pregnancy and leading up to labor to help get baby in the right position, okay? The other thing that can help get your baby off of your tailbone and your back, I call this one the Captain Morgan's, because you're going to put your leg up in a chair, you know, like put a little captain in you, okay? So you won't forget that one now, I promise.
Hey, I think that's how I got pregnant with my first child.
Probably. I could see that being a culprit. So if you have your leg up and then you're just kind of like lunging into it, that's spreading things out, and it's kind of it's just the way it works. You're kind of helping rotate baby around. You can do it kind of, you know, where you're leaning into it this way, but it helps more the more open you are, and you're just going to lean into it. And so, like, if you think you might be experiencing back labor in between contractions, try this and try those poses. Try to get baby to rotate the right way and get off of your spine. Okay. Sideline is another thing that helps take pressure off of stuff. You know, you don't ever want to lay completely on your back, and this is why labor on your back just doesn't make any sense. I'll show you a picture of this in a second, but when you lie down or sit down even and your tailbone is tucked, your tailbone is directly in the path of where your baby needs to come out. So the ideal thing is to keep your tailbone out of the picture, okay? You want to keep it out and back. And so like when you're squatting like that and you've got your butt out, tailbone is out of the way. When you're bent over and you're leaning forward and doing any of those things, your tailbone is out of the way. But the second you sit down on a bed or lie down on a bed, your tailbone just curves right into your pelvic area, your birth canal area, and that's just something that's going to impede your baby's head from coming down. So think about where your tailbone is and how to avoid that. So I'm going to show you some pictures.
So is that why a lot of women have issues with their tailbones after birth?
Probably so. I don't know. I've never looked up the correlation or the,
'Cause,
but
like,
that would make sense.
Since Grace was born, I have excruciating pain on my tailbone. Like, I went and got adjusted, what is today, Saturday? I went and got adjusted yesterday. And, like, one, I should have got adjusted a year ago after my daughter was born.
Mhm.
Because everything in my pelvic girdle just, it sounded like artillery.
Oh, when they cracked it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was horrible. So, I mean, get adjusted.
Yeah.
But
It might be it very well could be a factor in that. But yeah, your tailbone is definitely can be an obstruction, and I'll show you that here in a second. Eventually, again, y'all are my first class, but I want to get a pelvic bone, thank you, skeleton to show people and show you kind of what happens when you lie down versus what happens when you're squatting, say. Okay, so these are just a few pictures of what we've done, and to give you some examples of how, like if you don't have your birth ball or you don't want to use your birth ball, you can use pillows. This is a peanut. This is what I was talking about, where if you do decide to lie down, the best thing to do is to lie on your side. Now, they may have a certain side they want you to lay on for blood pressure stuff, but lying on your side, you still want to keep your legs separated. And this peanut is a great tool for that, and I know they have one at the hospital. Please put a towel on it, again, just, sanitary, make me feel better. But these are all positions that you can use the peanut in that are helpful, just to give you some relief. And again, having that pressure on completely supporting everything underneath you, it just feels good, and it puts that pressure up on your cervix, and so this is a way that you can do that without having to get on the floor or sit on your ball. These are just ones with the ball, sitting on it, leaning over it. This lady, I guess, is massaging somehow. This is, massaging the lower back like we talked about. It looks like she's just stretching her back and trying to sit up straight, and then another one leaning over. This is the squat I was talking about, where you guys can support behind, because she may not have the strength to hold herself up, but squatting, I swear, is one of the greatest ways to help baby get where it needs to be. And then this one, if you want to be up higher and you don't want to get down on the floor, then you can do forward leaning like that. There's another one I'll show you here in a second where you can actually just be up on the bed and forward leaning onto the back of the bed, if it's raised up. Okay, so this is what I can show you with the tailbone. Okay, so this tailbone is pretty much out of the way. But if that mother were laying back or sitting down, this tailbone pushes in. I mean, just think about what happens when you sit down. Your tailbone pushes in. Now, when you're sitting on a ball, and if you're sitting upright, it's not. I mean, you're keeping everything in line, but this is the space that your baby has to work through. You want to give that baby as much space as possible. So you want to keep that tailbone out of the way, and you want to keep your pelvis spread apart. So all of these positions that we're talking about are ideal for that. This is another example. I could go on and on about how birth became so convenient for doctors, where they're like, here, lay down, put your feet up in a stirrup, and then all I have to do is stand right here, and it's so convenient for me. But in doing that, in lying women down, we have made it that much more difficult. I mean, and it has to do with the tailbone. It has to do with the fact that, like this points out, if you're standing up straight or standing upright, then it's pretty much almost a straight down and out shot for a baby to come out. Same with even forward leaning. You're still using gravity to come down and out. If you're lying down on your back, baby has to come down to the birth canal and then come up the birth canal, right? It's not just a natural flow of things, if you will. So pushing positions, lying there on your back with your feet up is just one of the worst ones that you could do. And that became so common practice for so long. So don't do that one.
isn't it like the primal position, like on your hands and knees, or like squatting?
Mhm. Yeah. If you look back at ancient cultures and stuff where they've depicted their births and stuff like that, and even nowadays, if you go to more primitive cultures, women will go out in the woods and hang on branches, or they'll throw like a blanket or something over a branch and hold on to it and pull on it and squat and have a baby, because if we were left to our own devices and it was just intuitive, we would figure out that that's the more comfortable and easier way to get a baby out, not lying down on our backs. Pushing positions are kind of like what we already went over: forward leaning, hands and knees, squatting. You guys have heard of squat bars. I'll show you some pictures here in a second. Even side lying with your leg up is another way that you can push a baby out. Now you can sit at this point, like when you're ready to push, baby is past that tailbone part. It's down in your cervix and ready to come out. So it's not as big of a deal because the biggest part of your baby has passed your tailbone. So if sitting down feels comfortable, that's fine. And also if you're lying down and a lot of beds come with the feature of being able to drop the lower half down. So you're at an incline, you just, because when I started pushing, I just intuitively kind of laid back on the bed. I didn't, think about it, but they were able to drop the lower part of the bed to where it's still, it has me up higher and this part is lower. You just don't want to be lying flat on your back for pushing. Okay, and here's some pictures to show you what I'm talking about. So if you don't want to use your birthing bowl, but you just want to get up on your bed and lean forward, this is a good way to give some relief, and you can give birth that way. I mean, you're paying your doctors good money to catch this baby. They can get down, underneath you when you're up on your hands and knees. They can get down on the floor. You push and you give birth in the position that feels comfortable to you, and they will make it work. So these are the forward leaning positions to push. This is what a squat bar would look like if they put that on your bed. And you can, if you don't want to squat on the floor, but you want to squat during labor and not just during pushing, you can ask them to put that on your bed, and you can sit up on your bed like that and squat and open things up and get relief during your contractions. This one was new to me. I had not seen this one before, where you can actually use it, like you can wrap something around it and hold on to it to give you some leverage for pushing. So that's another way to use your squat bars. This is what a side lying position would look like, and somebody's going to help hold your leg up, but that is a pretty common and comfortable way to push. And then this is the example of if you did go ahead and lay back, but if you can tell they've got the bed lowered, where she's still, it's still a more vertical position. So that might be it. Oh, and then yay, baby's here. Okay, so I just did some skin to skin pictures, dads and moms, just to show that everybody can do it. I need to go back and make sure I didn't. Okay. Oh, one thing I forgot to talk about during pushing. I talked about like tension and holding tension like this. You're gonna want to make noises all throughout your labor, and especially when you're pushing, right? She's just getting cold. What you don't want to do is make high-pitched, way up here, clenching noises. Does that make sense? When you're, especially during pushing, you want to think low tones, guttural, primal, and they're going to sound funny. And word of wisdom, don't make fun of your wife for any noise that she makes during labor. Just saying, because you're going to make some weird noises. They're going to sound funny. They're not going to, you're going to be surprised that it's coming out of you, or maybe you won't because you won't even really be thinking about it. But especially during pushing and the transition and when it's getting really intense, if you're making noises of any kind, which you probably will be, guys, especially if you notice that they're making these really, screeching high up here and I'm holding tension kind of noises, point it out to her, say low tones, open, and you unclench your jaw and you open your mouth and it's, and if you go watch birthing videos, you'll hear some women doing that and how it just seems to come naturally. You can even hum, but keep it low, because the lower the tone is, the more relaxed all of your everything is, but all of these muscles are. Okay, you're not holding the tension up here and just making those screeching TV noises that they make when they're having a baby. That's what you want to try to avoid. So that was one thing I had forgot to mention. So is that everything? That is everything. Okay, ta-da. And a whole 2 hours early.
My doctor told me